Hello everybody. Well, here we are, another Coping with COVID episode. Today I'm calling this one, Happiness is a Full Refrigerator. And the graphic you see there is a watercolor painting my wife did. She did it after we came back from shopping and stocking up the refrigerator. And it just gave her an idea, and looking at the photo, or looking at the painting, gave me an idea for how we might sort of organize this discussion. So here we are, almost a year into this pandemic, and one of the problems we've all had, of course, is that we're bored, we're frustrated, we're tired, got to wear a mask, got to social distance. Yes, we're getting our vaccines, which is fantastic, and more about that in a later episode. But it's just been an issue. And what happens when you're bored, frustrated, tired, angry maybe? You eat the wrong foods. And I'm going to say, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct, probably more than 50% of us are eating the wrong foods. And we all know what these are. It's the processed foods, the packaged foods, the fast foods. It's the processed foods in particular. Now, everything's processed. The bag of oatmeal, of course, was rolled, but if that's all that was done to it, that's just rolled oats. It's when it gets the maple flavoring added to it, the sugar added to it, the other stuff added to it. It's the sugar frosted flakes. I'm just picking out cereals for a second. It's the bacon with the nitrates and the nitrites in it. It's all these things, and it's more and more and more, and we love them. It's the snack foods. So what can we do about it? That's the big question. First of all, is to be aware of it. And what we need to do, let's have a little bit of balance. I got a cartoon here of a lady sitting on a chair. On the one hand, she's got milk chocolates. On the other hand, she has dark chocolates. Down at the bottom, she has a bottle of white wine. The other side, she's got red wine. So that's kind of a strange balance, I guess. But the idea of it is we do need balance in our life, but let's be sure we have the right balance. So what happens when we eat too many processed foods? We get an increase in calories, increase in salt, increase in sugar, increase in fat, and a big decrease in nutrients. What do I mean by nutrients? It's those things that our body craves: vitamins, minerals, good fats, good protein, good carbohydrates. And we need those. More about that in a couple of minutes. But that's what happens. And here's a couple of photographs here of some processed foods. But the one I love the most, on the left side, is homemade cornbread. And you see it's 3 or 4 days later, it's got some mold on it. On the other side are those peanut butter crackers. It's 2 years old, no mold on that. That tells you a little something about what's in that cracker that's keeping it from getting moldy, because it should get moldy. Anything else would if it was not had a lot of stuff in it. Oh, and this other photograph is of a Big Mac, a large fries, and a really big soda. The combination there, besides for the fat, the sugar, the salt, is about 1,100 calories. Now, if what you're trying to consume each day is maybe no more than 1,800, probably no more than 1,600 calories, and you got 1,100 for your lunch with a Big Mac, large fries, and a soda, you're not going to stop with that Big Mac. You're going to have breakfast, you're going to have dinner. So what's it going to be? Well, what it's going to be is your belly is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And my whole point today is that over this last 12 months, 11 months certainly, we've all been eating the wrong foods. Most of us have been eating the wrong foods, or a lot of them, and we're getting a little bigger. Certainly we're not as healthy as we were. And got to add into that, are we getting enough exercise? Are we dealing with our stress? And are getting enough sleep? But today, let's just stay with the food. So there we are. What can we do? My first suggestion is get yourself a notebook. Just a simple notebook. It can be this size or something even smaller, doesn't really matter. But what I want you to do for 1 week, just 1 week, write down everything that goes between your lips. Food and drink. Just put it all down, including water. Put it all down and be honest about it now. If you want to have, if you say, I had some chips, was it a small bag of chips, a half a small bag of chips, or was it a big bag of chips? Just, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to grade you on this. You're not going to show it to anybody, just to yourself. but keep track of it, the whole week. Likewise, if you decide to have some cookies, cookies are fine, maybe, but not the whole bag of cookies. Anyway, write down what you have, so at the end of the week, you know what you're looking for. Here's my guess. If you're like a lot of people, you're going to see that you ate a lot of processed foods. You're going to see that you ate a lot of carbohydrates, particularly stuff with sugar in it, like sodas and beer, cakes and cookies and so on. And you're also going to have eaten a lot of stuff with probably the wrong kinds of fats and a lot of salt. Depending on you, the salt may not matter, but certainly the wrong kinds of fats and a lot of carbohydrates, which just go straight to sugar as you digest it, that does matter. So what should you do? Well, you say, well, I go on a diet. Well, there's a million diets out there, and it's a multi-billion-dollar business. So I'm not going to suggest you go on any kind of thing to try and bring your weight down all of a sudden. That's usually, just usually doesn't work. What I do want to recommend to you, though, is that you have a healthy diet every day, one that you can stay with, that you're comfortable with, that you're not really feeling too like you're missing something. And the suggestion I'm going to give you, which you probably heard from me before, is the Mediterranean diet. So here's a picture of it, the pyramid. Down at the bottom, that's the key part, that's what you eat the most of, are fruits and vegetables. In addition to that, whole grains, not white grains like white rice and white flour foods, but whole grain foods. That oatmeal I mentioned, that's a whole grain. Real whole wheat bread, that's whole wheat. Brown rice, that's whole grain. They all have the nutrients left in them. The white flour does not. All the nutrients are gone. When you eat white flour, it goes down. It gets digested very quickly to just sugar, and that goes right into your bloodstream. So that's not what you need. Anyway, bottom line there is lots of veggies, fruits, whole grains, and then foods that have some healthy oils in them. Nuts and seeds is a good example. Olives, avocados, and as an oil to use for cooking, salads, and so on, be sure to use olive oil. None of the others, but olive oil. Now, next up on the list is fish. Fish have a lot of good fats in them, those omega-3 fatty acids, but also a lot of good protein. So that's very healthy. And we work our way up. So at the top is sugar, just a little tiny thing in the top of the pyramid. Sugar's our mortal enemy. Most of us, or certainly many of us, are actually addicted to sugar. Just like being addicted to tobacco or to a narcotic, we get addicted to sugar. You get that taste in our mouth, the taste in our brain, and we want more and more and more of it. We can't get away from it. So what are we going to do? Try to follow this type of diet, really with the emphasis on those fruits and veggies, particularly the vegetables. So back to the refrigerator. Let's use the refrigerator as a little example for a moment. I put some arrows on here. Up at the top is a red arrow in the freezer compartment. It's pointing to some cherry tomatoes. Down below, purple one is pointing to some red cabbage, and then a green one towards some Brussels sprouts. And down a little further, a red one towards some beets. And then if you go around to the other side up on the top, a blue one is pointing to some blueberries in the freezer. Even this time of year, it's obviously cold outside, you can get the blueberries in the grocery stores that are frozen, and they're actually, in some ways, they're probably better than the fresh ones that are coming from other countries. So you say, well, I don't have time, and I don't have a lot of energy. I don't want to fix this sort of stuff. I will tell you that it doesn't take much time, it doesn't take much energy, and it doesn't make a lot of a mess. So here's a picture of some stir-fried cabbage, and the other one is stir-fried Brussels sprouts. Easy as can be. The Brussels sprouts, for example, slice them into 3 or 4 parts, toss them in a fry pan with a little bit of olive oil, and stir them. Keep going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Then after a while, add some hot water from a teapot or tea kettle and put a top on and set the timer for about 4 minutes. You're done. That's pretty simple, and the pan's very easy to clean. So you got a very healthy, highly nutritious food, which is low in calories but high in nutrients, and it's filling at the same time. Same with the cabbage. Here's a photo of beets. Just cut them up and boil them. Not much work there. Take them out, let them cool, add some feta cheese to it. You've got a beet salad, beet and feta salad. That's pretty easy. I then showed some roasted tomatoes here. Just take them out of the freezer, slice them in half, stick them in the oven with a little bit of olive oil, and in half an hour or so, they're going to look great. And then for some brain food, those blueberries. Our brains really like berries. It's one of the things that they like a lot, including all the other fruits and veggies that we eat. Back to the refrigerator. Now the orange arrow is pointing to some carrots, and the yellow one is pointing to some rutabaga. Oh, I know a lot of people don't like rutabaga, then never tried rutabaga, but you know, I give it a try. It's a good Swedish type food, and next to it there is a winter squash. Cut these things up into some cubes about this big, including the carrots, maybe some sweet potato or white potato, and stick them in the oven with a little olive oil, maybe a little rosemary. 40 minutes later, it's great. Very little effort to get really nutritious food. That's my whole point here. Back to the refrigerator, that yellow arrow over here on the left side, pointing to the cheese. And on the other side, the brown pointing to the eggs. White to the yogurt. I want to stop at yogurt for a second. Very healthy food. It has probiotics in it. And very valuable, very worth eating. But a couple of reminders. You only want plain. If they add vanilla to it, it means they've added sugar to it. If they've added fruit to it, they've added sugar to it. So just get the plain yogurt, whether you like plain or whether you like regular or Greek. And down at the bottom, a green arrow towards the kale. You know, you can fix the kale just the same as the other things I showed you before. It takes just a few minutes, very easy. Finally, here's a photograph here of a nice fruit cup, and next to it for breakfast, a nice poached egg. But instead of a poached egg with bacon, I showed poached egg with some vegetables. Because you want to get some vegetables going every meal if you can. Okay, let's go back to the refrigerator. At the top, in that freezer section, is some chicken, some beef, some salmon. And gotta have some beef once in a while. Not a big piece, but a nice piece. Here's just a photograph from one of our restaurants here of a nice piece of tenderloin, a baked potato, and some green beans. It's okay. You shouldn't have that every day, but you should have it once in a while. There's a lot of nutrients in beef, actually. It's just, I picked out the tenderloin on purpose because that's the least fatty, least amount of saturated fats in it. And the salmon, of course, with the vegetables, is always a good healthy thing to have. Okay, we do need some pleasure, so let's go back in the refrigerator up to the top and find the vanilla ice cream. Got to have a little something. So let's get the ice cream out, but let's also get out some chocolate. And the chocolate should be as close to 100% as possible. You can eat it just plain as it is, or take just some simple baker's chocolate, put it in a double boiler, let it start to melt down, add a little butter. Yes, butter makes it better. Add a little milk, and now you got your hot fudge sauce to put on the ice cream. There is one problem with my photo. It's the only one I could find that looked appropriate, but it's not appropriate. It's got 3 scoops of ice cream in that dish, just one. But have fun, enjoy it, and let me just summarize out by saying again, get a little notebook or a big notebook. Keep a diary for a week. You may be surprised at what you eat. Don't try and make this a judgmental thing. It's not. It's an educational thing. See what you eat and then think about it. And then think about that Mediterranean diet. By the way, you can Google Mediterranean diet and get that pyramid. You can print it out so you have it. It's a simple diet. It's worthwhile. It's a very, very healthy diet. Lots of good science behind it that says The people who eat this as normally, that's why it's called Mediterranean, folks who eat this regularly and normally, they live longer, they're healthier, and they feel better. You can too. So that's my message for today. We've all been under a lot of stress, a lot of struggle for the last year. Let's try and turn it around. Thank you.